first gen Tacoma. What's not to love? Look at this thing. This thing's sweet. Mid-sized truck. It's got an extended cab, TRD off-road package. This has the 3.4 liter 5V ZFE engine in it. 5-speed transmission. And it's got 258,000 miles on it. When I bought this truck about 13 years ago, it had just over 200,000 miles on it, and to this date, I haven't had to do any major repairs. It's been very reliable. So this truck has been with me for quite some time. I bought it from the original owner. The original owner bought it out west, so this truck's fairly clean. But up here in Michigan, where I'm at, in the Midwest, there's quite a bit of salt and rust, and these trucks are notorious for frame rot. And this truck is not really exempt from that. It does have some frame rusting. It's not terrible. It's fixable. And now is the time for me to finally get to it. I've been wanting to build this truck for quite some time now. I have done a few other personal builds, mostly import turbo cars. So this one now is going to be my first truck build. Not much of a truck, just a mid-sized truck, but I love it and I want to keep it. And I'm going to start by fixing the frame. And there's some other issues that could be fixed. There's some cosmetic stuff. The body's actually quite solid. Most of these usually are. It's amazing how nice this truck looks. It hasn't been washed in I don't know how many years. But it does clean up pretty nice. There's no real major issues with it other than the frame. The windshield is cracked and there's some issues, some tears in the interior. Mechanically sound though. The engine runs great. It's been well maintained. The oil always gets changed. It does have a new clutch. That had to get changed at about 230-ish thousand miles. It started getting a little bit slippy. And the brakes were kind of rusty, so I did end up putting bigger brakes on this truck. It does have the Tundra large brake upgrade kit on the front. And it has a Bilstein 5100 lift on the front, and it has the OME lift in the back. It's supposed to be a 2-inch lift, but this truck ended up getting the suspension done on it around 230,000 miles. And the suspension was so wore out that the 2-inch lift raised it more like 3, a little more than 3. The leaves were frowning a bit. That is about all this truck's had done to it. New suspension, timing belt, maintenance. Other than that, I haven't had to do anything with it until now. So once this frame is fixed, I'm going to jump into something a little more exciting. I have a donor vehicle that I'm going to be swapping its engine for this good old reliable 3.4. It's no surprise, it's a TDI. A lot of people have done it. I have the donor car, and it's been maybe 3 years now. It's been sitting around here. The donor car became a backup daily driver. And the adapter plate is just sitting collecting dust in the same spot it's been for years now. Now's the time. A lot of other projects are out of my way, so I'm going to start on this. And I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes. So the first thing I want to do with this truck is to lift it up on the hoist and set some scale pads underneath the wheels and get a overall weight and the weight bias. I want to know what this truck weighs rather than just looking it up online and trying to figure it out. I'm just going to get the real raw numbers. And I'll do the same thing with the donor vehicle, the TDI swap. There's a lot of people that talk about, if I put this engine in this truck or this car, is it going to be slow? Is it going to move? Is it going to struggle? How much weight can it pull? How much weight can it propel down the road? Not a concern with this truck. Obviously, a lot of people have done TDI swaps in Tacomas and Rangers and other small trucks and cars. I mean, you name it. It's been swapped a lot. It's a very popular swap. So all I want to do for my own data is just to see where I'm at before and after the swap, hopefully, to kind of see where it sits. Here's the truck sitting on the scale pads. The hoist has been lowered down below the frame a couple inches. It does have about a half tank of fuel in it right now. And here's the numbers. I'm going to write these down, but you can see it weighs 3,695 pounds. I'm curious to see how the donor car stacks up. Well, here it is. This is a donor vehicle, 2003 Volkswagen Jetta Wagon Edition, man. This thing is mint. Look at this beauty. It's got 4 different kinds of tires on it. Mismatched fender. Does have some kind of cool features, you know, sunroof, heated leather seats. Overall, solid car. Not pretty, but solid car. And most importantly, you know, 194,000 miles on the TDI, the ALH engine here. So it's going to be a good running donor. I already fixed all the weird little quirks that it had when I first picked it up. And just so to make sure that it's ready to go before I remove it from the car. That way, if I come across any problems during the swap, after the swap, at least I know it was working here. It's probably something I screwed up later on. So what I'm going to do now is lift this thing up on the hoist and get it set down on the scale pads, and we'll see how much this one weighs. All right, the Jetta is sitting on the scale pads. It has 1/3 of a tank of diesel fuel in it. We're going to see how much this beast weighs. 3,033 pounds. That's about 660 pounds lighter than the Tacoma. Okay, now that both vehicles have been scaled, I know that this truck is over 600 pounds heavier than the TDI Jetta wagon. So what I want to do is take them out on a backcountry road, not a lot of traffic. I'm just going to do some 0 to 60 runs and maybe, you know, roughly quarter mile times. I have a GPS tracker. It's called the Draggy. Some people may have heard of it. They're very accurate. I don't have a drag strip nearby, nor am I a race car driver. I'm not trying to break any records here. I'm not going to air the tires down and heat them up. You know, I'm not going to do a burnout box, nothing like that. All I want is some basic baseline data. I just want to run this truck down the road in the same spot and just kind of see where it's at. It does have a lot of miles on it, 258,000. It's a 2003. So I'm going to do my best to not break it, but also get some reasonable times and average it. I'll do the same thing with the Jetta. The Jetta, of course, 2003 TDI wagon, automatic. The automatic transmission's a little slushy, but I'll take off from the same spot, and I'll try to get a few runs in that as well to get an average, and we'll see. It's going to be slow. I mean, it's not a surprise. The car is not fast. And putting it into this truck is only going to slow it down some more. But I do plan eventually to do upgrades to that TDI engine, bigger turbo injectors and things to bring the power up. But I think also it'd be interesting just to see how much slower is it going to be if I just take that TDI engine and drop it in here and get a few things sorted. I'm kind of going back and forth about that, but most people that will swap a TDI in something are going to upgrade it. So if I do this and I keep it stock, it's going to be pretty slow, and I don't know, I think I just kind of want to try it that way first. And then I'll go back and I'll do the upgrades and just show how much better performing it is when I get that power number bumped back up. So that's the next part of my testing before I take this truck apart. I want to get the baselines, and then I'll fix the truck, take it apart, because I don't know how long that stuff's going to be. I have an old country back road that I go to every once in a while. Not a lot of traffic out here. We're going to line up here, and what we're going to do is just get some basic performance stats, some 0 to 60 times with the Draggy GPS tracker here. So I'm just going to go, and it knows as soon as I take off to record a 0 to 60 time. 1, 2, go. Here we go. About all it's got. Done. And then we can refer back to that data. I mean, I was right at the edge, just touched the rev limiter going into third. That should have been enough to record a 60 time. Just go down and let it cool off. Take a look at the data. Okay. Here we are in the Jetta. We're in the same exact spot as the Tacoma. This is a 2003 Jetta TDI wagon, automatic. We're gonna go right now and see what it's got. There we go. We hit 60. Yeah, it's not a speed racer, but just want to get a baseline, just curious. We'll go back and check that 0 to 60 data with the Draggy GPS and see what it recorded. Definitely slower than the Tacoma. The Tacoma, I did quite a few runs with it. It seemed to run about 16, high 16 quarter mile, 16.9, somewhere in there. And 0 to 60 was somewhere around 9.5 seconds. It's not a legit drag racing course or anything like that. I'm not a professional driver. I'm just trying to get some 0 to 60 data mostly and some comparison footage between the two, so I have something to go back and forth between the swap and the pre-swap, the original engines. So just for fun, we're just gonna see what the numbers are. Alright, so I'm back with the numbers. I drove the Tacoma and the Jetta down this backcountry road. Nice little stretch, not a lot of traffic. The Draggy GPS is quite accurate, so it just gave me some basic numbers to see where I'm at with this truck and with the car. The Tacoma 0 to 60 times around 9.5 seconds. I think some of the faster ones even 9.4-ish. I wasn't taken off super hard. I probably could have got that down, but we're talking manual transmission. It's more of a driver error, so that could be on me. But I'm not racing this thing. I mostly wanted consistency, and that's about where it fell. Quarter mile, just under 17 seconds. 16.9-ish, that's about one of the better runs. So that gives me an idea of where this truck's at. Now the Jetta, on the other hand, it's you don't need to sugarcoat it, it's slow. I mean, I know it's not fast. It's a 90 horsepower diesel automatic wagon, But that car, even so, the best run I had on that, 0 to 60, about 13.4, we'll say 13.5 seconds. I mean, that's pretty dang slow. Quarter mile time, just under 19 seconds. 18.997. I'll get some of the screenshots up here on the video from the Draggy data. It's just kind of interesting to look at. So that gives me my baselines. I'll know where I'm at now when I pull the engine out, I swap it into the truck. I plan to do a stock run with the TDI, so we're basically depowering it, and we're adding 600 pounds or so from what the TDI is used to the truck. So I know it's not going to be faster, shouldn't be faster. I guess the only difference would be that this is going to be mated to the 5-speed manual transmission, so that kind of takes the automatic out of the works there. So I'm glad I got my numbers. That's all I wanted to do. I want to get some basic performance data before I start tearing the truck apart. The next thing I'm going to do is going to be to take the bed off and start working on the frame and see where that's at. And it's going to be a little bit of time before I get back to doing the real swap. So I want to get this stuff done now. It makes more sense to get it done now and out of the way.